What's going on YouTube? It's the Game Zombie here with an all new video on Mortal Kombat 11. So recently I was going through my footage and I was watching the official gameplay reveal that was shown on MK11 Day, and I noticed something extremely interesting that nobody seems to be talking about. So around 111 during the trailer, we see for a split second Raiden being attacked by a horde of enemies in what looks to be the Netherrealm, fending him off as best as possible. Now one might not think much of it, but when you slow it down frame by frame, you'll see something extremely interesting. These aren't just generic random enemies. These aren't random Outworlders. These aren't random Netherrealmers. These are creatures that we've never seen before in the Mortal Kombat universe. Now, I could say that because I've done hours and hours of research, gone through data, comic books, scrubbed through gameplay, fan fiction, and nowhere in the Mortal Kombat lore there are no such creatures that quite resemble this. Now, right off the bat, when you take a good look at them, you'll notice right away their reptilian-like features. Their green skin, their sharp, jagged teeth, their claws, their crazy codpiece skull-like belt, their skull helmet, and it even appears that their weapon seems to be made out of some kind of wing of some sort with some spikes coming out of it, almost like a giant petrified bat wing or something used as a sword. Now, right away, when I see these guys, I think reptilian and I think reptile. Maybe this is the new reptile species. Now, reptile species is actually known as the Saurian, also known as raptors, and they're reptilian humanoids who have evolved from dinosaurs. And these kind of look like that. They kind of look like humanoid dinosaurs. But the only Saurians that we've seen in the Mortal Kombat universe are Reptile, and almost every single iteration of Reptile has been humanoid except for one during Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, where he's just full on lizard. Every single other version of Reptile has been more humanoid with reptilian skin and features. So I started doing more research, and the only other species that even comes close to this type of creature is Dragon. Now, I didn't want to jump to conclusions right away, so I took a harder look at these creatures, and one thing that stood out to me, things were just so dark, it was really bothering me that I couldn't get a really good, clear look at any of these guys. We got some momentary screenshots where you can actually see their faces and whatnot, but you can't see them in detail. And all of a sudden, a light bulb clicked on: brightness. So I got to editing and messed with some of the brightness settings, and what the fuck is this? Who does that look like? Notice that each and every other one of these creatures has the same outfit, has the same skull headdress, except for this one front and center with giant fucking horns. Can you tell me who that is? Can you tell me what that is? Why are they standing front and center with massive horns, while all the other minions look exactly the same, but yet this one in the front looks different from all those? Who does he look like? Big, green skin, reptilian-like with giant horns? Who the fuck could it possibly be? Now, it does kind of resemble Shinnok's demon form, but Shinnok was never green. He had lava coming out of him. He didn't have these crazy spikes coming out of his back. So I think it's safe to say this is not Shinnok. Now, the only thing that this is missing is giant wings. Now, all of these minions have these crazy spikes on their back. If this is Onaga and his minions, I'm thinking that for some reason they don't have their wings, or they were clipped. Not sure. That's just something that we're going to have to wait and find out. But this is clearly a leader of some type. Notice that every single other minion has the very same look to them, from the headdress to the belt. And this guy in the middle, clear as day, is bigger than all of them and is the only one not only not wearing a headdress, but with two giant fucking horns. There's only one character in the Mortal Kombat universe that is big, green, with horns. Now, if we're ruling out Onaga, there is one other thing that was standing out to me, and that was these skull belts. Now, all of these creatures reminded me of Kahn's minions that we saw in MKX, down to the skull headdress and everything, they all look very generic, so they're obviously serving somebody. And just like the minions in MKX were serving Total Kahn, it's only safe to assume that these minions are serving someone else, and I'm thinking they're serving Onaga or Shao Kahn. Now, speaking of Shao Kahn and Onaga, that brings me back to these skull belts. Their weird belt codpiece thing that had a skull on it, and I tried to think, who else have I seen in the Mortal Kombat universe with a skull on their belt? Because there has been a few. So once again, that brings me back to Reptile. In MKX specifically, Reptile had a skull covering his abdominal area. Now, another character who had green skin and a skull covering his abdominal pelvic area is Total Kahn. But Total Kahn doesn't really have reptilian features. Not only that, but his people, the Oshtek, were wiped out, and he is the only remaining Oshtek left. But given the fact that this game is going to be jumping time and going back in the past, it's possible that these Oshtek warriors are now living again, but that doesn't explain why they would be reptilian, so I think it's safe to say we can rule out Total Kahn. Now, the next character that has a skull belt is Melina. But Melina's is more of a tribute to her father, Shao Kahn, and other than her crazy Tarkatan teeth, she doesn't have anything in common with these reptilian creatures. Now, the next character actually has a little more in common and has me questioning a lot of things with these characters, and that is the big bad emperor himself, Shao Kahn. Now, Shao Kahn does have a skull on his belt, and as we have seen in the pre-order bonus footage, he now sports a crazy reptilian looking arm with a bunch of thorny spikes coming out of it, and his fingers have taken more of a reptilian look, and also his fingers resemble that more of a reptile. And then last but not least, we have Onaga. For those who don't know, Onaga was the big bad in Mortal Kombat Deception and played a huge role in the storyline of Mortal Kombat. Not only does Onaga sport reptilian dragon-like features, he also has a skull on his belt. Now, Onaga himself is actually part of the dragon race, not to be confused with Reptile's Saurian race, but nonetheless, he still sports reptilian-like features, green skin, sharp-pointed fingers with claws, but he has wings. Now, Onaga has been a long-awaited character. People thought that we were going to see him in MKX, and since he didn't show up then, people were long been speculating that we would see him in Mortal Kombat 11. If these creatures had ties to anybody, I would say it's either a Reptile, Shao Kahn, or Onaga, and I'm leaning towards Shao Kahn or Onaga. I honestly really feel like they're going to merge the two characters together, considering all the information that we've got about Shao Kahn, his arm and new dragon-like features, and also the fact that it has been confirmed that Shao Kahn will have a role in the story of MK11. I think it would easily be safe to say that these characters at least have something to do with Shao Kahn. And if they do, we can only assume that they're his new minions. Nonetheless though, we are definitely getting a new race in Mortal Kombat 11 to add to the already expansive universe, and I'm really looking forward to finding out more about these guys because they just look brutal. They kind of look like a mix of Tarkatans, which is Baraka's race, and Reptile's Raptor race. So really interesting stuff, you guys. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What do you guys think about these new characters? What role do you think they have in the story, and who do you think they're tied to? Let me know in the comment section below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to hit that like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe.